Li Tabin stood in the center of the great hall. Above him, the crystal dome showed the stars of 1,000 worlds. Around him, creatures from 47 different planets sat in their floating chairs. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of living rock or metal. They were all laughing at him. "The humans want peace again," shouted Commander Veltar. The big lizard creature slammed his clawed hand on his chair. "What a surprise. The cowards want to talk instead of fight." More laughter filled the hall. Tabin did not move. He had heard this before. For 50 years, every time humans tried to help solve problems, the other species made fun of them. They called humans weak. They said humans were afraid of everything. Park. So-Min stood behind Tabin. She was his helper. She wanted to speak up and defend their people. But Tabin had told her to stay quiet. He knew what would happen today. He had planned for this moment. Queen Zixra clicked her sharp mouthparts together. She looked like a giant ant with 6 arms. "Maybe the humans can sing pretty songs to stop the war. That would be perfect for such soft creatures." The Kreth Empire and the Vex Confederacy were about to fight. Millions would die. Whole planets might burn. Tabin had come here to stop it. But nobody wanted to listen to humans anymore. Admiral Korth stood up from his chair. He was covered in black metal armor. Red lights glowed where his eyes should be. "Humans have never won a single battle. They run away before anyone even starts shooting. Why should we care what they think about war?" "Yes," called out Counselor Drex from the savage clans. "Show us one time humans won a fight. Show us one." "Battle where humans proved they were strong." The hall erupted in noise. Every species started talking at once. They shared stories about human weakness. They told jokes about human cowardice. Some even started betting on how fast Tabin would give up and leave. Tabin remembered the first time he came to this place. He was young then. He believed the other species would respect humans if they were polite and peaceful. He thought being kind and helpful would make friends. He was wrong. Year after year, humans tried to help. They offered medicine to sick worlds. They shared food with hungry planets. They built schools and hospitals. They always tried to solve problems with words instead of weapons. And year after year, the galaxy laughed at them. The Talon Republic called humans the pet species. The Hive world said humans were too weak to live in space. Even the peaceful Botanical Union thought humans were strange for avoiding all conflicts. So Min leaned close to Tabin's ear. "Sir, maybe we should leave. This is getting bad." Tabin shook his head. "No. Today they learn the truth." High Arbiter Zenkala raised her hand for silence. She was the leader of the council. Her people were known for being wise and fair. Even she looked tired of human requests. "Ambassador Tabin," she said in her deep voice, "your people have asked for peace treaties 237 times in the last 50 years. Every time you say war is bad. Every time you offer to help solve problems with talking. But you never show strength. You never prove you understand what real power means." She looked around the hall. "These species here have all fought wars. They have all won victories. They have all shown they are strong enough to survive in this galaxy. But humans just talk and hide." The crowd made sounds of agreement. Veltar roared his approval. Queen Zixra clicked happily. Admiral Korth's red eyes flashed brighter. "So tell us, Ambassador," Zenkala continued, "why should we listen to a species that knows nothing about war? Why should warriors take advice from cowards? Taibin felt the weight of every human life in the galaxy. There were 12 billion humans living on hundreds of worlds. They had built peaceful cities. They had beautiful art and music. They had children who played in safe parks and went to school without fear. All of that existed because humans had made a choice 50 years ago. They chose to never fight. They chose to always look for peaceful answers. They chose to help instead of hurt. But the galaxy saw that choice as weakness. Taibin thought about his grandfather. The old man had fought in Earth's last war. He had seen things that gave him nightmares for 60 years. Before he died, he made Taibin promise to keep humans peaceful. Never let them see what we really are, his grandfather had whispered. Never let them know what humans do when we stop holding back. Now the choice was in front of Taibin. He could keep the secret and let the galaxy think humans were cowards, or he could tell the truth and change everything forever. The laughter was getting louder. Someone threw a piece of fruit at the human delegation. Somin stepped forward to protect Taibin, but he stopped her with a look. "You want to know why humans avoid war?" Taibin said quietly. The hall started to get quiet. A few creatures were still laughing, but others wanted to hear what the human would say. Maybe he would finally admit humans were weak. Maybe he would beg for mercy. Maybe he would cry. Taibin looked up at the dome of stars. Somewhere out there, human families were living peaceful lives. They trusted their leaders to keep them safe. They trusted Taibin to find solutions without violence. But maybe peace was not possible anymore. Maybe the galaxy needed to learn why humans really avoided fighting. "You want to know why humans shun war?" Taibin repeated, his voice carrying clearly through the great hall. Every creature in the council was listening now. The hall was completely silent for the first time in hours. Taibin met the eyes of Admiral Korth, then Queen Zixra, then Commander Veltar. He looked at each species representative in turn. When he spoke again, his voice was soft but somehow terrifying. "Because we are too good at it." The silence stretched on. Nobody laughed. Nobody moved. For the first time, since humans joined the Galactic Council, no one made a joke about human weakness. They were all trying to understand what Taibin meant, and in that moment of perfect quiet, everything began to change. Kim Jae-ho sat alone in his office when the message arrived. The small room was filled with floating screens that showed pictures and videos from Earth's history. Most of them were things he wished he could forget. The message was from Ambassador Taibin. It was short but clear. "They want proof. Send everything." Jae-ho closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He had hoped this day would never come. For 50 years he had kept Earth's darkest secrets locked away. He was the keeper of humanity's worst memories. He was the one who remembered what humans could do when they stopped being civilized. A soft chime told him someone was calling. Choi Min-ji's face appeared on his screen. She was on Earth working in the main historical archives. She looked worried. "Dr. Kim, I saw the council broadcast," she said. "Did Ambassador Taibin really say what I think he said?" Jae-ho nodded slowly. "He told them we're too good at war. Now they want to see proof." Minji's face went pale. "Are you sure we should do this? Once they see what we're capable of, there's no going back. They'll never look at us the same way." "Maybe that's what we need," Jae-ho said. "Maybe it's time they understood why we work so hard for peace." He had been the chief human historian for 20 years. His job was to preserve the truth about humanity's past. But it was also to keep that truth hidden from the galaxy. Other species knew humans had fought wars on Earth. They just thought human wars were small and weak, like everything else about humans. They were very wrong. Captain Song Hyun-woo knocked on the door and came in. He was the commander of the human diplomatic ship. His face was serious. "Doctor, the Council has given us 1 day to present evidence. Admiral Korth is demanding battle records. Queen Zixra wants casualty numbers. Commander Veltar wants to see human weapons in action." Jae-ho stood up and walked to his biggest screen. With a few touches, he brought up the main database. Files and folders appeared, each one labeled with dates and war names. There were thousands of them. "Captain, do you know how many wars humans have fought?" Jae-ho asked. Hyun-woo shook his head. "We stopped counting at 15,000 major conflicts. That doesn't include the small ones, the civil wars, the revolutions, the genocides." Jae-ho's voice was quiet. "We have been killing each other for our entire history." The screen showed a timeline of human wars. It started 50,000 years ago with primitive tribes. It ended with the final war of 2157, just 200 years before humans joined the galaxy. "Look at this progression," Jae-ho continued. "Stone clubs, bronze swords, iron weapons, gunpowder, automatic rifles, poison gas, nuclear bombs, orbital weapons, planet crackers." Each stage of the timeline showed more efficient ways to kill, more deadly weapons, more destructive tactics. Humans had turned war into a science. They had made killing into an art form. Minji's voice came through the speaker. "Doctor, I've started gathering the files you requested, but some of this data, I don't think I can send it. The footage from the nuclear age alone would traumatize most species." "Send it all," Jae-ho said firmly. "They asked for proof. They're going to get it." Hyun-woo looked at one of the files. It was labeled World War II, European Theater. The casualty number next to it made him step back in shock. 60 million people died in that one war, he asked. "That's just the most conservative estimate," Jae-ho replied. "And that was with primitive technology. Before we really understood how to kill efficiently." The captain sat down heavily. He had served in the Human Defense Force for 30 years. He thought he understood war. But this was different. This was his own species' history, and it was horrifying. "Doctor, why didn't they teach us this in school?" Hyun-woo asked. "Because we don't want to remember," Jae-ho said. "After the final war, humanity made a choice. We decided to bury our violent past. We taught our children about art and science and peace. We wanted them to be better than we were." On the screen, a new file opened. It showed pictures from ancient Earth, burning cities, endless graveyards, weapons that could destroy entire continents. Jae-ho had seen these images thousands of times, but they still made him feel sick. "The other species think their wars are impressive," he continued. "The Kreth Empire is proud of their 1,000-year conquest. They killed maybe 10 million enemies. In total, Queen Zixra's people fought the Great Hive War. 2 million casualties over 50 years. He pulled up another file. Humans killed 100 million people in just 6 years during World War II, and that wasn't even our worst conflict. Minji's face appeared on screen again. She had been crying. "Doctor, I found the files from the final war, the orbital bombardment records, the bioweapon reports, the AI war machine specifications." She wiped her eyes. "How did we survive this?" "Barely," Jae-ho answered. "We went from 8 billion people to 200 million in just 3 years. We almost made ourselves extinct. That's when we learned to be afraid of what we could do. Captain Hyunwoo was reading through more files. His hands were shaking. This says humans invented weapons that could target specific genetic markers. They could kill entire races while leaving others untouched. The ethnic cleansing protocols, Jae-ho confirmed. Developed in 2089. Never used, thankfully. We realized it would mean the end of all diversity on Earth. The room was quiet for a long time. 3 humans sat surrounded by the evidence of their species' capacity for violence. Each file they opened revealed new horrors, new ways humans had found to hurt each other. Are we really going to show this to the galaxy? Minji asked finally. Jae-ho looked at the timeline again. 50,000 years of war, billions of dead, weapons that could crack planets, tactics that could break the spirit of entire civilizations. Yes, he said, because they need to understand. When humans fight, we don't just defeat our enemies, we erase them from history. We don't stop until everything is dead or broken. He began selecting files to send to the council. Each one told the story of human warfare. Each one proved that humanity's peaceful nature was not weakness. It was the hardest lesson they had ever learned. Send the Mongol files first, Jae-ho told Minji. Start with something simple. Horse-mounted warriors with bows and arrows. 25 million dead? That's simple? Captain Hyunwoo asked in horror. For humans, yes, Jae-ho replied sadly. That's the point. Even our primitive ancestors were terrifyingly good at war, and we've only gotten better at it since then. As the files began uploading to the Council's secure network, Jae-ho made one final check. Everything was there. The proof that humans were not cowards. The evidence that human peace was not weakness. Tomorrow, the galaxy would learn why humans really avoided war, and nothing would ever be the same again. The council chamber had been changed overnight. Heavy security shields covered the walls. Special dampening fields blocked all outside communications. What the aliens were about to see was classified at the highest level. Dr. Kim Jae-ho stood at the center of the room with a small device in his hands. Ambassador Lee Tae-bin waited beside him. Around them, representatives from 47 species sat in their chairs. They looked curious and slightly annoyed. You promised us proof, Commander Veltar growled. Show us these famous human victories you claim to have. We never claimed victories, Tae-bin said quietly. We told you we were too good at war. There's a difference. Jae-ho activated the holographic display system. The air above them shimmered and formed a 3-dimensional image. It showed ancient Earth, green and blue and beautiful. Primitive humans moved across the continents with simple tools. This is where it begins, Jae-ho said. 50,000 years ago, humans with stone weapons and animal skins. Queen Zixra clicked her mandibles impatiently. We came here to see warfare, not a nature documentary. The image changed. Now it showed mounted warriors racing across vast grasslands. They carried bows and wore leather armor. They looked fierce, but not particularly threatening. The Mongol Empire, Jae-ho announced. 13th century Earth time. Cavalry forces armed with composite bows and steel swords. Admiral Korth laughed. Primitive weapons and riding animals? This is supposed to impress us? Watch the numbers, Jae-ho said simply. Text appeared in the air next to the warriors. Casualty reports, battle statistics, conquest records. The numbers started small but grew rapidly as the presentation continued. Beijing, 500,000 dead. Baghdad, 2 million dead. Kiev, 50,000 dead. Jeho's voice remained calm as the numbers climbed higher. Total casualties from Mongol conquests, 25 million people. The chamber began to grow quiet. The Kreth Empire's greatest conquest had killed maybe 1 million enemies over several centuries. These primitive humans had killed 25 times that many with horses and arrows. "That's impossible," said Counselor Drex from the savage clans. "Primitive weapons cannot achieve such casualties." "You asked for proof," Tabin replied. "Dr. Kim has the complete historical records. Every number has been verified." The hologram shifted forward in time. Now it showed humans in gray uniforms crouching in muddy trenches. Explosions burst around them. The sound of gunfire filled the chamber. World War I, Jeho continued. Early 20th century, 4 years of combat using chemical weapons, machine guns, and artillery. More numbers appeared. The alien representatives leaned forward to read them. Several gasped out loud. 17 million dead, Jeho said. "In just 4 years, we learned to kill with industrial efficiency." The hologram showed soldiers choking on yellow gas clouds. It showed massive guns that could fire shells across vast distances. It showed charge after charge of men running into machine gun fire, dying by the thousands. Engineer Teclon of the Silicon Collective ran rapid calculations. "These casualty rates exceed our worst projections for modern warfare. How did your species survive such losses?" "We barely did," Jeho admitted. "But we learned from every conflict. We got better at killing, more efficient, more thorough." The image changed again. Now it showed a massive mushroom cloud rising above a city. The light was so bright it hurt to look at directly. When it faded, everything below was gone. "World War II, Jeho said. His voice was getting quieter as the numbers got bigger. 70 to 85 million dead. We invented nuclear weapons. We used them on our own species." The chamber fell, completely silent. The hologram showed the aftermath of the atomic bombings. Shadows burned into concrete walls. People turned to ash in an instant. Radiation sickness that killed slowly and painfully. "You used weapons of planetary destruction against yourselves?" High Arbiter Zenkala asked in shock. "Twice," Tabin confirmed. "And those were small bombs compared to what we built later." The presentation continued. Each war was deadlier than the last, each weapon more horrible. Humans showed an incredible talent for finding new ways to kill each other. The Vietnam War, the Iran-Iraq War, the nuclear exchange of 2034. Each conflict taught humanity new lessons in destruction. Each victory came with a higher price in blood. Queen Zixra was trembling. Her people were warriors, but they had never seen anything like this. "How many wars has your species fought?" "We stopped counting at 15,000 major conflicts," Jeho replied. "That doesn't include civil wars, revolutions, genocides, or what we called police actions." Admiral Korth's red eyes were dim with shock. "My people are proud of our warrior culture. We have fought wars for 3,000 years. Our total casualties across all conflicts, maybe 5 million dead." "Humans killed more than that in single battles," Jeho said sadly. "The Battle of Stalingrad lasted 5 months, 2 million casualties. The Siege of Leningrad, 1 million dead. The Holocaust, 6 million people systematically murdered." The hologram showed assembly lines of death. Prison camps designed for mass killing. Trains carrying millions to their doom. The aliens watched in horror as humans demonstrated their ability to turn murder into an industrial process. "Why are you showing us this?" Counselor Mordek of the Botanical Union whispered. "What kind of species keeps such detailed records of their own cruelty?" "A species that learned to fear itself," Tabin answered. "We document our wars because we never want to forget how terrible we can be." Jeho moved the presentation into the space age. Human conflicts became even more devastating as technology advanced. Orbital bombardments that turned continents into glass, bioweapons that killed billions, AI war machines that hunted down every living thing on entire planets. "The final war of 2157, Jeho announced. 3 years of total global conflict. Earth's population went from 8 billion to 200 million. The hologram showed Earth itself, burning from pole to pole. The oceans boiled. The atmosphere was poison. Most of the continents were radioactive wastelands where nothing could live. We almost destroyed ourselves completely," Jeho continued. "We came within days of total extinction. That's when we finally learned." "Learned what?" High Arbiter Zenkala asked. "That we were too dangerous to fight wars anymore," Tabin replied. "We realized that human warfare doesn't create winners. It only creates survivors crawling through the ashes." The chamber was dead silent. 47 species sat in stunned shock, trying to process what they had seen. These creatures they had mocked as cowards had nearly wiped themselves out through sheer military efficiency. Commander Veltar spoke first, his voice barely a whisper. "Your species. You could have conquered the entire galaxy." "Easily," Tabin confirmed. "But conquest isn't victory. It's just another word for universal death." The presentation was only half finished, but several delegates were already asking to leave. They had seen enough. They understood now why humans avoided war. Because when humans fought, everyone lost. Dr. Kim Jeho paused the presentation as several alien delegates began showing signs of real distress. The empathic crystallites were actually weeping, something that had never been recorded in galactic history. Their crystal bodies were changing, color from clear blue to deep red, indicating extreme emotional trauma. "The historical data becomes more disturbing from this point," Jeho warned. "Our transition to space-based warfare coincided with major advances in both destructive capability and tactical efficiency." Commander Veltar raised one clawed hand. Perhaps we have seen enough. We understand that humans are more warlike than we believed." "No," Ambassador Lee Tabin said firmly. "You asked for proof. You demanded to see human military capability. You're going to see all of it." The holographic display shifted to show Earth's moon. Beautiful silver cities covered its surface. Domed farms and crystal towers caught the light of the distant sun. Millions of people lived and worked in the lunar colonies. "The lunar independence movement," Jeho continued. 2157. The moon colonies declared independence from Earth. They wanted to stop participating in the final war. The peaceful image of lunar cities filled the chamber. Parks and schools and hospitals were visible through the transparent domes. Children played in low-gravity gardens while their parents worked in the clean industries. "It looks beautiful," said Counselor Mordek softly. "A peaceful civilization." It was, Jeho agreed. For exactly 6 hours and 27 minutes. The image changed with shocking suddenness. Bright flashes of light erupted across the lunar surface. The beautiful cities vanished in explosions that could be seen from Earth. In seconds, millions of lives were snuffed out. Earth's response to the Independence Declaration was immediate. J-Ho continued in his emotionless historian voice. Orbital kinetic bombardment using tungsten rods accelerated to relativistic speeds. Total time from declaration to complete surface sterilization, 6 hours and 27 minutes. The numbers appeared next to the devastation. Queen Zixra read them out loud in a shaking voice. 12 million casualties. Duration of combat, 347 minutes. Humans killed 12 million people in less than 6 hours. Admiral Korth asked in disbelief. We didn't even send soldiers, Tabin replied. It was handled by automated defense systems. The decision to destroy the lunar colonies was made by an artificial intelligence in 0.3 seconds. The hologram showed the aftermath. The moon's surface had been turned into a landscape of glass craters. Nothing remained of the cities except melted slag. Even the underground bunkers had been vaporized by the kinetic strikes. This is what human warfare looked like in the space age, J-Ho explained. We had learned to kill on an industrial scale. Geography became irrelevant. Distance meant nothing. If humans wanted you dead, you died. Engineer Teclon was running constant calculations, trying to understand the technology being displayed. The energy requirements for this attack, you would need the entire power output of a star. We built machines that could harvest stellar energy, J-Ho confirmed. War became our driving force for technological advancement. Every new discovery was immediately turned into a weapon. The presentation continued with more examples of human space warfare. Planets cracked open like eggs by gravitational bombs. Star systems sterilized by self-replicating nanomachines. Entire species wiped out by bioweapons that rewrote their genetic code. The Titan Rebellion lasted 3 days, J-Ho said as images of Jupiter's moon appeared. The rebels had built underground cities in the ice. They thought they were safe. The hologram showed massive thermal lances cutting through kilometers of ice as if it were paper. The hidden cities were exposed and destroyed one by one. Not a single rebel survived. How did you find them so quickly? High Arbiter Zenkala asked. Quantum sensors that could detect individual heartbeats through solid matter, J-Ho replied. By 2150, it was impossible to hide from human military technology. Captain O. Dobbin of the Human Historical Military Division appeared as a recorded hologram. She began explaining the technical details of advanced human warfare. Autonomous war machines that could think and adapt faster than any biological mind, Dobbin's image said. Weapons that targeted genetic markers, turning biology itself into a weapon. Ships that could accelerate to 90% of light speed and ram enemy planets. The alien delegates listened in growing horror as Captain Dobbin described humanity's arsenal, weapons that could destroy matter at the atomic level, bombs that created temporary black holes. Viruses that could be programmed to kill specific individuals while leaving their identical twins unharmed. We learned to fight wars in ways that made physical combat obsolete. Dobbin continued. Why send soldiers when you can rewrite the enemy's DNA from orbit? Why occupy territory when you can simply delete it from existence? Queen Zixra was barely able to speak. Your species. You're not warriors. You're something else entirely. We're what happens when intelligence evolves in the presence of constant warfare, Tabin explained. 50,000 years of killing taught us to be very, very good at it. The hologram showed Earth during the final war. The blue and green planet was now brown and gray. The oceans had boiled away. The atmosphere was poison. Automated war machines roamed the surface, hunting down the last survivors. By 2157, we had created weapons that could operate independently, Jeho said. Machines that would continue fighting. Even if every human died, some of them are probably still running, searching for enemies that no longer exist. Dr. Lim Yun-soo appeared as another recorded hologram. She was the chief of human psychological warfare analysis. Her face was haunted by what she had studied. We analyzed our own combat effectiveness and reached a terrifying conclusion. Dr. Lim's image said, "Humans don't fight battles, we orchestrate. Apocalypses, we don't defeat enemies, we erase them from the universe." She showed tactical analyses of human warfare compared to other known species. The graphs were shocking. Even the most warlike aliens looked like peaceful children compared to human military efficiency. A typical galactic conflict might last decades and result in millions of casualties, Dr. Lim continued. Human conflicts are measured in days and result in the extinction of entire civilizations. Admiral Korth of the Talon Republic was staring at his own species' military records on a side display. The Talon Republic was feared across 3 sectors for their warrior culture. Their greatest victory had taken 50 years and killed maybe 100,000 enemies. "We're not warriors," he whispered. "We're children playing with toys compared to this." "That's why humans work so hard for peace," Tabin said. "Because we know what happens when we stop holding back. We've seen what we become when we embrace our nature." The final images showed the aftermath of human warfare. Dead planets orbiting dead stars. Space filled with the debris of destroyed civilizations. The silence where billions of voices used to be. "This is the price of human victory," Jeho concluded. "Total annihilation of everything we touch. We don't create empires, we create graveyards." The chamber was silent for a long time. No one knew what to say. They had come here expecting to see human weakness. Instead, they had witnessed something that challenged their understanding of what was possible. "How do you still exist as a species?" Counselor Mordek finally asked. "Because we learned to fear ourselves more than any external threat," Tabin replied. "We realized that there are no winners in human warfare, only survivors and corpses." The presentation was over, but its impact was just beginning. The council chamber remained silent for over an hour after Dr. Kim Jae-ho finished his presentation. 47 species sat in their chairs, trying to process what they had witnessed. Some were trembling. Others had gone completely still. A few were quietly weeping. Ambassador Lee Tae-bin stood in the center of the chamber, waiting. He had known this moment would come eventually. For 50 years, humans had carried the burden of their past alone. Now the galaxy would have to carry it with them. High Arbiter Zenkala was the first to speak. Her wise, ancient voice was barely above a whisper. "You're telling us that human peace efforts aren't weakness. They're mercy." Tabin nodded slowly. "Every treaty we propose, every war we prevent, every conflict we solve with words instead of weapons, we do it because we know what happens when humans fight. We don't want to win wars. We want to prevent them entirely. Commander Veltar of the Kreth Empire spoke next. His voice had lost all its aggressive bluster. For the first time since anyone could remember, the great warrior sounded afraid. "You could have conquered us at any time. All of us. The entire galaxy." "Yes," Tabin confirmed simply. "But conquest isn't victory. It's just another word for universal death." The implications were sinking in slowly. Every insult thrown at humans over the past 50 years. Every joke about human cowardice, every dismissal of human peace efforts. All of it had been aimed at a species that could have destroyed them all without breaking a sweat. Queen Zixra clicked her mandibles nervously. Her hive mind species was used to thinking in terms of overwhelming numbers and coordinated attacks, but human warfare made their strategies look like children's games. The brewing conflict between the Kreth and the Vex, if it escalates and you humans decide to intervene, it won't escalate, Tabin said firmly, because now you understand why humans work so hard to prevent wars. We've seen what happens when intelligent species perfect the art of killing. We've lived through the consequences. Admiral Korth of the Talon Republic was staring at his hands. His people had built their entire culture around warrior pride and martial honor. They had mocked humans for avoiding fights. Now he realized that humans could have ended the Talon Republic in an afternoon. All this time, he said quietly, we thought you were afraid of us. We were, Tabin replied, but not for the reasons you thought. We were afraid of what we might do to you if we stopped being peaceful. Chancellor Wei Kyung-ho appeared as a hologram from the human colonial government. His message was brief but clear. The galaxy is safer when humans choose peace. We don't avoid war because we can't fight. We avoid war because we're afraid of what we become when we do fight. Dr. J-Ho began packing up his presentation materials. He had shown the galaxy humanity's darkest secrets. There was no taking it back now. Every species would go home knowing that the quiet, helpful humans were actually the most dangerous predators in the known universe. What happens now? Asked Counselor Drex from the Savage clans. His people had always respected strength, above all else. Now he was looking at humans with something approaching religious awe. Now you vote on our peace proposal, Tabin said. The same proposal you were laughing at yesterday. The one designed to prevent the Kreth-Vex conflict from spreading. The CAD vote was called immediately. No discussion was needed. No debate occurred. For the first time in galactic history, a human peace proposal was approved unanimously. Not a single species voted against it. As the delegates began filing out of the chamber, many stopped to speak with Tabin personally. The conversations were awkward but sincere. Apologies for past insults, thanks for human restraint, promises to support peaceful solutions in the future. Commander Veltar approached last. The great lizard warrior looked smaller somehow, diminished by what he had learned. Ambassador, he said carefully, I owe you an apology. My people have been disrespectful to humans for many years. Apology accepted, Tabin replied. You didn't know. But that's just it, Veltar continued. We should have known. A species doesn't develop your level of technology without having serious military capability. We chose to see weakness because it made us feel superior. The Kreth commander paused, struggling with words. My people are warriors. We understand strength. What you showed us today, that wasn't strength. That was something beyond strength. That was the power to end everything. That's why we choose not to use it, Tabin said quietly. Queen Zixra joined the conversation. Her compound eyes were still dilated with shock. How do you live with this knowledge? How do you function knowing what your species is capable of? By remembering that we're also capable of choosing not to, Tabin replied. Every day, 12 billion humans wake up and decide to be peaceful. That's the real victory. Engineer Teclon of the Silicon Collective had been running calculations since the presentation ended. "I've been analyzing the technology you displayed," he said. "Some of those weapons, they shouldn't be possible. They violate several fundamental laws of physics. Humans are very good at finding ways around laws," Dr. J-Ho commented. "Physical laws, moral laws, natural laws. When we want something badly enough, we make it possible. And what you wanted was better ways to kill each other," Teclon said with mechanical precision. "Until we learned better," J-Ho confirmed. "The final war taught us that our greatest enemy was ourselves. So we chose to become our own greatest protector instead." High Arbiter Zenkala made the official announcement to the galactic news networks. "The Council recognizes that human peace efforts represent not weakness, but wisdom born from experience. We encourage all member species to work with human diplomatic teams to resolve conflicts through negotiation rather than warfare." In the days that followed, conflicts across the galaxy began resolving themselves. Species that had been preparing for war suddenly found peaceful solutions. Trade disputes were settled through mediation. Border conflicts ended with negotiated treaties. Nobody wanted to risk making humans angry enough to remember their old ways. Captain Song Hyun-woo of the diplomatic vessel New Seoul watched the news reports with amazement. "I've never seen anything like this," he told Dr. J-Ho. 3 major conflicts ended just today. The Spiral Arm trade war is over. The Outer Rim border dispute has been resolved. Even the ancient feud between the gas giants and the rock worlds is moving toward peace. "Fear is a powerful motivator," J-Ho replied, "but it's not the kind of peace we really want." "What do you mean?" "They're not choosing peace because they believe it's right," J-Ho explained. "They're choosing peace because they're afraid of what happens if they don't. That kind of peace doesn't last." Ambassador Tabin understood the problem, too. He had given the galaxy the truth about human warfare, but truth without context could be dangerous. Fear without understanding could lead to its own kind of violence. So he sent another message to all the galactic networks. This one was different. Instead of showing human capacity for destruction, it showed human capacity for creation. Art and music and literature, science and medicine and exploration. The beautiful cities where human children played safely. This is what humans choose. Instead of war, his message said. We could have spent our energy building bigger weapons. Instead, we built better worlds. We could have perfected the art of destruction. Instead, we perfected the art of living. The galaxy began to understand that human peace wasn't just about avoiding their own violence. It was about choosing something better, something worth protecting. Within a week, species that had never spoken to each other were working together on peaceful projects. The Kreth Empire offered to share their mining technology with former enemies. Queen Zixra's hive worlds began trading food with the hungry outer colonies. The galaxy had learned why humans shun war, and finally, after 50 years of being misunderstood, no one was laughing at human peace efforts anymore. They were grateful for them instead.